CashCalc's got a really useful feature called transfers that allows you to transfer assets from one pot to another. Without that feature, you'd have to set up a withdrawal from one pot into your current account and then a subsequent contribution from that current account into another pot. So the transfer feature completely does away with that. And it's particularly useful for a bed and ISA or a bed and pension strategy. So how does that work in practice? Well, let's use this example. This client here has got a load of pots under their savings and investments tab. They've got an ISA that's worth about 75,000 and an equal sized GIA. It's about worth 70,000 now, but the CashCalc also expects you to record the original investment so we know the level of gain that client has made and therefore useful for any CGT calculations. Now I want to gradually drip feed money from the GIA into the ISA for this client. Now, if I click on the cash flow model, let's see what this looks like at the moment. You can see at the moment you've got the big pension in blue and you've got the ISA and the GIA of equal size. The client retires at about 68, 69 and then starts eating into those two pots here. Now, I can very quickly see if there's any CGT liability at the moment by clicking the taxes tab. This shows all of the taxes that are going to be due over the coming years for the client. And if I hover over this one in particular, you see the dark blue there, capital gain tax payable by Keith in year one after retirement. Or year two after retirement, about 1080, and then the second year 1850, and then the third year paying £1,200 as he gradually eats into that GIA for income. So about £4,000 in capital gains tax payable by Keith in the early years after retirement. You've also got that under the yearly breakdown tab as well. If you click on yearly breakdown, you get a year-on-year breakdown. And on every single year that a CGT liability is triggered, you get these little insights. So if you click on this year, you can click on the Insights tab and it just explains why you've been alerted. But if I click on the Money In tab, you can see there all the money in, the state pension for Keith and Barbara, and the ad hoc withdrawal from Hargreaves Lansdown, which is clearly tax-free because it's an ISA, but you've had to make, or Keith's had to make an ad hoc withdrawal from the GIA. He's been able to use his £3,000 allowance, but you can see the gain, the overall gain is 6,000, taxed at 18%, has resulted in that tax charge of 1080 for Keith. So how can we employ a relatively simple strategy to drip feed the money from the GIA into the ISA? Well, we can go back to our inputs and timeline. I'm just going to make a duplicate cash flow up here. Click on the little plus icon. We can call this one bed and ISA. We're going to clone from an existing forecast. We've only got one. It's called current situation. So we're just going to clone that here. And once that clones, it will be a side-by-side comparison. So I can quickly see the before and after effect of adding this transfer. So you can see there we've got current situation and bed and ISA. We can now click on the transfer tab. We can add transfer. We can move the money on a regular basis from Keith's GIA into Hargreaves Lansdown ISA. We're just going to simply call this bed and ISA, and we're going to move 7,000 every single year from today up until life expectancy of Keith, which is currently set at 85. And if we add that into the cash flow automatically adjusts, all dynamic. And if I click on the cash flow tab over on the left hand side here, it will calculate. Let's move to savings over time first. You can see what's happened. Again, starts off at an equal size, but every single year we just gradually drip feed from the GIA into the ISA. So the GIA bar gets smaller every year and the ISA bar gets bigger. And that should mean almost no taxes. So if you click on the taxes tab, again, there's no CGT to pay. In fact, if you hover over any one of those bars, you can see at the bottom there, capital gains tax paid by Keith, 000. But more importantly, if we come back to savings over time, you can see the end forecast under 100 is significantly better off than our current situation, which would have been a lot less. And if I now put those side by side under compare, you can see the two side by side, and we can just explain to our client that, again, using a very simple strategy, bed and ISA, moving £7,000 every single year out of that GIA into the ISA would result in £8,000 or £9,000 gain at the end of this particular forecast. Hope you found that useful. Any questions, feel free to reach out to us on our help desk.